Welcome to a self-published author's diary. I am Elodie Novodatsky. I write about first time, second chances, things that scare the crap out of me, and things that make me laugh out loud. I'll be speaking with you and sharing my adventures in self-publishing, the behind the scenes of writing, and the business side of it. Hello. First of all, did you know that this is episode 51? 51! I can't believe, I can believe, but I'm so excited that I've already been doing this for almost a year. Podcasting has been a good decision for me. I'm trying to find, or I'm finding, the schedule that works for me, and I'm finding what I think maybe, hopefully, crossing my fingers, is helpful or interesting or entertaining to you, while also helping me to keep track about my own writing and also learning more myself, because I put systems in place, as I've been talking about for the past couple of weeks. And it's been interesting for me to see that when I know I'm about to record and there are things that I want to talk about that I've announced I was going to be talking about, well, it's also holding me accountable to talk about those things and to research some things that will be helpful to me in both my writing and my self-publishing career. So thank you. I hope you're doing great. Writing-wise, I am back on track, and I was also able to focus on my system last week, and it feels good. Full disclosure, I had slightly less on my plate than the week before, so my set schedule only got derailed once, which is not bad. And this morning, I actually wrote outside, like I said I would do, because I got this tool that I've been using, which is not a laptop. And I've sat outside with some water. It was a bit chilly, so I had a scarf and everything on, but the sun was shining, and I wrote 1,201 words in 25 minutes. And this felt nice to be able to follow through some of the schedule that I had set myself. So today I'll talk about what has helped me trying out a new publication venue for my pen name and Draft2Digital acquiring Smashwords. So in terms of schedule and being able to see through the sometimes imposter syndrome that has a tendency to show its face every now and then, I managed to focus on what I can control and the systems, as I said, that I'm putting in place. And in addition to writing outside, which I did this morning, something that I've done all week, also it was less cold this morning, so easier to write outside when it's not super, super, super freezing out there. So one thing I have wanted to do was to sit at my computer as soon as I have my coffee in hand around 5:30 a.m. So that way I can get 2 Pomodoros in before breakfast. Again, 1 Pomodoro is 25 minutes. And then you take a 5-minute breaks, and then you do another Pomodoro. So doing that helps me to get into the story, or should I say stories, because I'm writing too. And when it's harder, which let's face it, it can be, like doing those Pomodoros does not mean that the words are flowing through my fingers and that everything is easy peasy and the characters are talking to me and everything is just falling onto the page the way it's supposed to be, and it's gorgeous, amazing, I don't need to revise it. No, it's not like that at all. The reason I was able to actually write this morning outside, and I did that around 9:30 a.m., I think, or 10 a.m., is that I had spent a large part of the morning deciding and revising and going through what I had already written to be sure of the direction that I wanted to go. Because even though I love writing and even though I love the characters, it's not always easy. So when it's more difficult, having that time early in the morning to sort through or even possibly do some writing exercises or pulling through words or brainstorming, well, that helps. That helps me to actually move forward with the story afterwards. And that is something that I am going to really try to continue working on. So to not get distracted by anything else bright and early, but sit at my computer or use the Neo 2 if I'm ready for it. Like if I have a scene that I'm drafting instead of revising, then it's perfect because, as I've said, I found that very helpful to not concentrate on the word count, to not concentrate on whatever is already written, to just have that tool to write, as has been helpful to me. You may hear Plato the dog snoring next to me. He's actually having a dream right now. I'm currently in the process of revising my pen name story, and at the same time I'm working on Sweets for Love. For Sweets for Love, I'm revising the beginning of the story as I'd like to have a first draft as polished as possible. And this week, I've listened to Brian Cohen and Alessandra Torres' free webinar called 5 Steps to Improve Your Book's Chances of Selling. During that webinar, they talked about the importance of the first pages, the look inside pages on Amazon, for example. And yes, I know those first pages are important. Between, when I was querying to find an agent years ago now, or as I'm sharing the first pages with my readers now, maybe in my newsletter or in my Facebook group, I know those first pages are important to pull the reader in. What I hadn't done in a while, it's to actually do what they advised in that webinar, and I will link to both of their websites in the episode's description. But how you can, of course, look at the look inside pages of best-selling books in your genre and see what the authors have done, because, there is sometimes this, for me right now as a reader too, like I know some of the tropes that I like. I know how writers and authors can pull me into the story with a voice. Like the voice of the character is very important. But in the romance also, I am looking for certain things, even though it's not conscious necessarily. And so by looking at the look inside pages on Amazon, I was able to check what some rom-coms, some popular rom-coms that I either want to read or have read, have done. And so I looked at two more carefully. I looked at The Boyfriend Project by Farah Ronjan. If you have not read that book, please do. The first pages start with banter, amazing voice, and the main character getting ready for a date, which is getting derailed. You know from less than 25% of the short sample that this is a rom-com. The banter in that beginning is amazing. And as the main character is getting ready and you listen to her talk and you find out what happens with the date she was getting ready to go for, you're already invested in the characters. The Boyfriend Project by Farah Ronjan is a book to read. And the same for Emily Henry's People We Meet on Vacation, which I'm currently reading. Within the first 2 pages, the love interest is on the page. He's there, and you know it. And the first few pages are a prologue, and it's very clear that you're getting into a rom-com. So after analyzing more books, I've reworked the first pages of Sweets for Love and made them stronger. Now I just have to finish revising the first quarter and finish writing it. No big deal, right? For my pen name story, I have decided to try out Kindle Vella. And here's what Kindle Direct Publishing has to say about Kindle Vella. US-based authors can publish serialized stories, one short episode at a time. Readers can explore Kindle Vella stories in the Kindle app. Readers can photo stories, give stories a thumbs up, and so on. So based on my research so far, the Kindle Vella reviews from the author's side is mixed. It seems Amazon isn't doing a big push for readers to read on Kindle Vella, and it's not, in terms of revenue, it's not necessarily like a big avenue for revenue. At least based on what I could find. There are always outliers. There are always some people, some authors who do well on different platforms, but there may not be as many readers right now as what authors may see on other serialized platforms like Radish or others. So the main revenue so far seems to be from bonuses, and there's absolutely no certainty on how long they will last. So readers from serialized fiction like Kindle Vella or Radish or Wattpad are usually not the same readership as other avenues. If a reader is paying for Kindle Unlimited, they may not go onto the Kindle Vella site because they have, after, a certain amount of free episodes, they have to pay basically per episode, which could be the equivalent of a chapter. The reasons why I'm leaning towards trying out are the following. One, it's a pen name. So while I most likely won't be bringing my existing readership, I'll be using a TikTok account plus a simple website to bring awareness to the story. So that means that I don't have a lot of investment in terms of social media. I mean, the TikTok side, there are certain things that I can do pretty easily in terms of like page flips, even though it's a Vella story. I can do page flip and have things written on it, explaining the story, having excerpts from the story. I can use voice memo when writing something down. I can use filters to show part of my face as I'm doing certain things. Like, this is not something that will take me a lot of time because I am more busy building my audience, so to speak, on my main TikTok account. I definitely will use that as a way to reach people who are already on their phones. 2, for this serialized fiction, I want to write about 1,500 words per chapter, per episode, I should say. The story I'm writing for the pen name is very soap opera-ish. It's full of angst, it's full of twists and turns, and very, again, soap opera-ish. It seems like the perfect description for it. And for serialized fiction, I think that could work nicely. 3, once the story has been on Vella for 3 months, I can publish it in Kindle Unlimited. 4, having a schedule to write and update the story is something that I'm looking forward to. 5, I won't start publishing it until I have the first 8 episodes ready to go. I'll be putting the first 5 episodes and then we'll update weekly. Having a buffer of 3 episodes, I think, is a good buffer to have. This will be from the female main character's point of view. And then I will do another story with the male main character's point of view. So that I would have, so once I have a few chapters in from the female main character, I already have some of the chapters from his point of view. And it's kind of easier for me to write it that way because the story is already told. I just have to say it from his side. That would enable me to have 2 stories ongoing on Vella at the same time. I would not start both of them at the exact same time. I would start with her point of view first, see a little bit how it goes, but I'm planning to publish his point of view on Vella maybe a month, 2 months in after starting her story. I'll keep you updated once I start the actual publishing process. I will let you know how it works. There are talks, like authors are wondering how long the bonuses are going to last. There is a KDP forum for Vella where authors also ask questions. If you're interested, there are quite a few Facebook groups for Vella authors, and I've been doing a lot of research on those groups. So if you're wondering, curious, want to know more about maybe trying out Vella and see what people are saying, I think those forums are very helpful to ask questions, to see what the experience have been. There are a few website links also, but I will add the link to some of the information that I have found online. If in case you want to look for information yourself, then you can go in those particular areas. And I think it's another one of those avenues where I'm not going in thinking that it's going to be the one way for me to earn more with my writing. But I also know myself enough that I love being able to write something that is being read right away. And I also am not going to publish something that I have not made sure is ready for publication. So right now, when I'm talking about the story that I'm currently, want to have the 8 episodes for before I start publishing, that story has already been reviewed and revised, and I'm actually going through the revision right now to make it ready for serialized fiction, because I don't necessarily think this is the exact same way of writing. And maybe those books will do very well in Kindle Unlimited as well. Like I have no way to compare. I have no comparison point. I have no experience putting a book solely on Kindle Unlimited first. And I also have no experience putting a book in Kindle Vella. So this is why I want to start. I want to try it out, see how it works. And one doesn't prevent the other. So again, as soon as I have the story up for 3 months, I can put it out as an ebook. I already have the cover. I'm working towards, setting a date for publication, but I'm not, even though, as I said, I'm very excited to have people reading my words, maybe not. Maybe I won't have any readers. Like there are no guarantee whatsoever that I find readers on Vella. But so I'll keep you updated once again I start the actual publishing process. So talking about publishing, and what a smooth transition. Did you see that Draft2Digital acquired Smashwords? So both D2D, Draft2Digital, and Smashwords are aggregators. So aggregators are their service that lets you upload your manuscript in one place and then distributes your work to multiple channels, like the retailers who sell your work, such as Apple iBooks, Kobo, and so much more. And I took those two little sentences from Draft2Digital website. So I use Draft2Digital for many of my books. They announced the acquisition on February 8th, 2022. According to the press release, Draft2Digital and Smashwords are key catalysts behind the dramatic rise of self-publishing over the last 14 years. This is a very press releasey language. Their publishing platforms enable 250,000 authors and publishers around the world to publish, distribute, market, and manage over 800,000 ebooks and 11,000 print-on-demand paperback books. So the press release goes on to say that Draft2Digital authors will gain access to the Smashwords store and its myriad exclusive book marketing tools, including Smashwords coupons, self-serve merchandising, author interviews, and the patent-pending Smashwords pre-sales tools for book launches. Sales at the Smashwords stores have grown consecutively each of the last 5 years, with December 2021 sales up 20% over December 2020. So then they go on to explain what else is important for the acquisition, including that erotica authors who are publishing with Draft2Digital will have now an expanded distribution thanks to Smashwords. So what I found interesting as well is that they had a quote from Johanna Penn, host of the Creative Penn podcast and best-selling author. So she says, this acquisition is great news for indie authors. Two of the industry's strongest advocates for indie authors are combining their unique tool sets, technologies, and energy to do more for the indie community. There are exciting years ahead. So she is endorsing the acquisition through this quote. And the reason why I found that interesting, to be 100% honest, is because when I was reading the press release, I was looking for the different languages and the things that you're expecting to see in a press release. And I was wondering who was going to be quoted endorsing the acquisition. And so it was interesting to see that it was Johanna Penn, who has so much knowledge about self-publishing. So it's, and if you are interested in listening to her podcast, the Creative Penn podcast, I will also add her link to this episode's description. So what's coming next? The acquisition is expected to close on March 1st, 2022. There's a Q&A that happened a couple of weeks ago, with Draft2Digital and I think Smashwords, and it's available on YouTube. So I will add the link to it into this episode's description as well. So as I've said, I use Draft2Digital, and one perk for me right now is that I'm going to have access to Gardner's, Ordilo, and the Smashwords store. So Gardner's, according to their website, is Britain's leading book and entertainment wholesaler, offering the largest stock catalog in the UK, with a product range that includes books, ebooks, DVD, Blu-ray, music, CDs, blah, blah. So this basically is one more avenue for my ebooks to reach other sellers, retailers. And maybe because I'm also doing some print books with Draft2Digital print, maybe it will be helpful to also reach those wholesalers that I'm not sure about. When it comes to Audilo, so from a 2015 press release from Smashwords, Audilo is a leading ebook supplier to over 2,100 public libraries in 43 countries across Europe, 1,000 libraries, Latin America, 1,000 libraries, and North America, 100 libraries. In October 2015, they announced a deal with the Ministry of Culture in Spain to provide ebook services to over 15 million library cardholders in Spain. I have books that have been translated into Spanish. And it also is right now making me think that there are other books that I have which have been translated into Spanish that I have not yet put on Draft2Digital or Amazon for that matter, because there are a few things that I need to do before I actually upload them. Like I want to have another proofreader maybe read them, or just making sure that they're ready. They had been translated on BabbleCube. I got the rights back. So there are a few things that I need to do, but it's kind of making me think that maybe this is something I should add to the list of things that I do, not in March, but maybe in the 3 months after that. The company, so here again from the press release, the company is also running preliminary pilots to expand into Australia and New Zealand. About 40% of Audilo's ebook sales are books in English, 40% in Spanish, 15% in French, and 5% in German. The 15% in French for me is pretty big news because I do have a lot of French-speaking readers, and reaching readers in the libraries with my ebooks would be wonderful. It would be amazing. In 2020, Audilo announced that it was partnering with the National Library of the Netherlands to boost their digital library. So again, the acquisition for me means that I don't have to go via Smashwords to reach those retailers or wholesaler. Draft2Digital will take care of that for me. And I'm looking forward to see if I see a change in my sales and see a change in revenue, but also see a change of maybe new readers coming from those different things, because I'm gaining more and more French-speaking readers onto my French-speaking newsletter. And one of the questions I asked in a survey recently is, where do they read? Like, which store do they get their ebooks from? I had a few answers, and some got their ebooks from Amazon, others from Apple Books, others from Google. So it's not like my readers in the English-speaking world. So this is something that I'm looking forward to see if there will be a big change or not, or even just a slight change. It would also be interesting to see. This is it for today. We are currently watching Inventing Anna, and we're still watching Billions, and we're watching Cobra Kai. We finished watching the first part of season 4, I want to say. Can't remember, of Ozark. So we're now waiting for part 2 of that season. So yeah, so this is what we're watching. I am reading, as I've mentioned, People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry right now, and I'm really enjoying it. As always, thank you so much for listening. And if you have a second, don't hesitate to rate, review, subscribe to this podcast, forward it to a friend. If you'd like to support this podcast, you can become a monthly supporter. I think it starts at 99 cents per month, or you can always get me coffee. And the link to that is on my website, www.elodienowodatsky.com. Elodie is ELODSDOG-IE, and Nowodatsky is NOWODSDOG-AZKIJ. To all writers out there, happy writing, and to everyone, happy reading.